Today we're making lasagna. We're gonna make the whole thing from scratch, so we're gonna do this in 3 parts. Our first part is we're gonna make the actual pasta. The way I make it is about 2 eggs per 1 cup flour, and for this recipe, we're gonna do 2 cups of flour. And then we're gonna make our bolognese sauce with ground beef, Italian pork, and some veggies. And then the last step is gonna be assembling everything together. You can do the second part, the sauce, the day before, even up to 3 days before, keep it in your fridge, and then you can assemble it all when you're ready to do this. This meal, it kind of is the gift that keeps giving because it just seems to always last for a long time. The kids love to eat it. It's a great meal to give to a friend if they're needing something extra. So yeah, let's get to it. So we're gonna do this directly on our countertop. If you have a big shallow bowl, you could do this in it, but I just wanted to show you can really do it anywhere as long as your surface is clean. So I'm gonna take 2 cups of flour, just kind of measure it out and put it directly onto my workbench. Okay, so the tools you'll need, you can use a knife, a fork, or if you have a bench scraper, get a bench scraper and use this. So we're just gonna take our flour and make a little volcano. You can go back to your science project days. This is a great meal to make with your kids. Let them come in with you. My son made this last night by himself. It gets messy, but I think it's worth the experience for them. So just start with 1 egg at a time. So I'm gonna take 1 egg and start just mixing it in with the flour. And as I'm mixing it, it's okay if your perimeter gets a little bit larger, but just try to keep it within the circle. And then once that's starting to look really well mixed, you can add your next egg. So because I'm using 2 cups of flour, I'm gonna be using 4 eggs. Just keep mixing that, and then you can add the next egg. And you can kind of incorporate the flour as you're mixing it, so you can feel free to like take flour from the edges and bring it in. Remember also to remove all your rings before you do this because it's not fun cleaning all the pasta off of them when you're finished. Okay, and I'm gonna add my last egg. There's definitely different ways to make pasta. Some people use just egg yolks. You'll need a lot more eggs if you're gonna do it that way, and I just prefer to do it this way. Okay, so I'm gonna start pulling in the flour from the sides and mixing it. And at this point, if you have a knife, you can take your knife and kind of chop the flour into the dough. Or if you have a bench scraper, you can do the same thing with that. I'm gonna use my bench scraper. So I'm just gonna take it and kind of chop it in. Okay, now you can use your hand and try to kind of form it and pull it together and kind of make it more compact. And once you feel like the egg is well incorporated with your flour, that's when you can put away your knife or your bench scraper and start using your hands and bring it in to create a ball. So it will be still sticky and that's totally fine. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the palm of our hand and we're gonna push the dough out, and then we're gonna use the tips of our finger to pull it back in, and we're gonna knead our dough now. So we're gonna push out and then pull in, and then use your other hand to kind of push the other dough into it. And that's okay if you're losing some on the sides. We'll bring that back in once this is getting better incorporated. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna use my scraper, or you can use your knife and kind of pull all this extra stuff into it. And again, palm of your hand, the tips of your finger, you're gonna push out and then pull back in with the tips. And then keep doing that in a circular motion and grab the side, go out, pull in, go out and pull in. And you're gonna do this until your ball of dough really starts to form into a nice ball. And the test that it's ready is you'll be able to pinch it and it will spring back. So you're looking for like the elastic feel of your dough. Again, don't do this wearing a watch or rings because you will be cleaning them for days. Okay. And you can test it once it's starting to take shape. You can look at it and pinch it, and you see how that's like springing back. That's getting there. So I'm gonna go a little bit longer because it's still pretty sticky. Okay. So you can see as I'm moving it that as I'm pushing it in, it's springing back. So that looks really good. You can pinch it and it springs back as well. So my dough is done. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna wrap it in saran wrap, leave it on the counter and cover it with a tea towel while I work on my bolognese. Now that our pasta is resting, we're gonna start by making our sofrito. So we're just gonna use celery, some carrots, onion. I'm gonna add some shallots and then garlic. We're gonna finely chop that up, and then we'll mix in our ground beef, our Italian pork sausage, and then I'm gonna add spinach to this as well, just to make it a little bit more veggie heavy. And then we have some fresh basil we'll throw in at the end. Just gonna grate our carrots really quick. I'm just using 3 carrots, 4 ribs of celery, 1 small onion, 1 small shallot, and then I'll probably use about 4 to 5 garlic cloves. Okay, so for our carrots, we're just gonna finely chop them. You could even grate them. I used to do a lot of grating of carrots in my pasta. It just felt a little bit quicker and the kids had no idea, so it was great. So just gonna cut these into fourths. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside and start chopping my celery, and then I'll combine them and cut them together. Okay, now we're gonna cut up our onion and our shallot. Okay. Oh yeah. This one's getting there, but I'm just gonna cut off that bit. We're gonna keep cutting our onion. I'm just doing thin slices, and then I'll bring it together and chop them up again. Just do not have to look pretty. You can just roughly chop it all. So, and now you can like kind of take it all together and just chop it all up. Oof, this is where my eyes start to cry. All right, we're gonna add shallot in there because I love shallot. Just gonna cut it. Okay, I'm gonna get this started on the pan. You've seen my video before where we've made just a really good pasta sauce. We always do our sofrito first. We pull in our garlic later because the garlic will burn, whereas all of this can caramelize and cook a lot longer. So, oh, my eyes. So we're gonna do this first. So just back here, I'm gonna turn on my pan. I have a larger pan I'm using today. When I saute, I will use just a good olive oil. So I'm just gonna use this Italian one from Whole Foods. When I look to buy olive oil, I'm always looking for single origin. You want it to be single origin, organic if it can. Don't get the Melody because they're gonna throw in a bunch of olives from all over, and you're not gonna get as good quality of olive oil. Okay, we're moving over to the stove. We're gonna add just the onion, carrots, and celery and shallots in first. Try to get it all. And then we're just gonna saute this until it really starts to caramelize, so it'll be a few minutes. You can just kind of mix it around and then leave it and let it do its thing. My heat's on like a medium-low right now. So I'm just gonna spread it out and let it start cooking. At this point, I'm also gonna add some salt and let it all cook together. And then I'll do some fresh pepper. We'll give it another mix. Okay, everything is starting to look really good. It's been a couple of minutes, and now at this point we're gonna add our garlic. And just saute that with everything. And then for a family of 6, I'm doing 2.5 pounds ground beef and then 1 half pound of Italian pork sausage that I'm gonna mix in. I have a 28-ounce can of tomatoes, and then I'm gonna use about a tablespoon of tomato paste. And I want to mix it all and get it all in there. Okay, I'm gonna add some Worcestershire sauce, about a cup of chicken broth, and then a little bit of cinnamon. The cinnamon and the Worcestershire you don't have to add, but it will bring a lot of flavor and a little bit more depth to your pasta. So definitely recommend. I'm gonna do probably about a tablespoon of our Worcestershire. Put that in there. You know what, let's go for 2. Why not? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take a tablespoon of our tomato paste and add that, and then mix it around. And then our can of tomatoes. and about 1 cup of our chicken stock. And we'll just add a little bit of cinnamon. Okay, while this is all cooking, we're gonna go and finish our pasta. So I'm just gonna grab some semolina flour and kind of prepare our workspace by putting it down on the table. This is where we're gonna lay it out flat, and then this comes off really nicely in the water once it's ready. So I'm actually at this point too going to turn on the pot of water behind me so it can be at a boil by the time I'm ready. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm also gonna add a little bit of flour to our workspace. And then we just wanna add some flour to the top so it's not as sticky when we run it through our pasta attachment. So I'm using my KitchenAid today. I have the pasta attachment on here. It's gonna start at a 0 or a 1 if you have, some have 1, some have 0, mine's a 1. So I'm gonna start it at a 1 gauge. And then we're gonna work our way to probably a 7. If you wanna do this by hand, you definitely can. You just need to roll it out to where it becomes very translucent. And then you can cut your lines with a knife. So I'm just gonna put this, roll it back one more time. And then we're gonna cut it into probably 4 parts. And I'm gonna start with my first part and then cover these 3 with my tea towel. So you can either use a rolling pin or you can use your hands, but what we're gonna do is kind of fold it. We're gonna do a couple times. So we're gonna fold it over and go out flat. Turn your KitchenAid on to like a 4. And then we're gonna run it through. Once, and then we're gonna fold it over again and go another time. And it is good to keep it floured so it's not gonna stick. Okay, and I'm gonna add some semolina to it and go one more time on the 1. And now I'm gonna start changing up the gauge each time. So I'm gonna go to 2. And the 3. And if at any point it feels sticky to you, put more flour on it so that it's not gonna stick to your machine.
Five.
Okay. So I'm just gonna clean up this workspace a little bit. We have all of our sheets out. What I'm gonna do once this is cleaned up is I'm gonna put my pan, I'm gonna cook it in up to it. And then I'll kind of measure it out and slice it that way. And then it's gonna kind of go quickly. So I'll get our ricotta ready. I'm just gonna crack one egg directly into the ricotta and mix it around. I'll put it over there, and then we'll have our spinach that we'll lay. So we're just gonna start doing layers. We'll do our pasta in the water, lay it down, then our sauce and our ricotta. I'm also gonna use Parmesan cheese, and then I have sliced mozzarella that I'll put towards the end. Okay, now that it's boiling, we're just gonna drop it in and let it cook. And it will be pretty quickly. It's once your pasta is rising to the top, like you can see, you're good and done. So it's just seconds. So it makes all that hard work we just did totally worth it. And then we're just gonna lay it out and then go for the next one. Just use your fingers to spread it out a little bit. The next one. This is where you really do want to make sure you rolled out, if you are rolling it out, very thin, because it does thicken up a bit in the water. So again, if you're rolling it out, make sure it's translucent. You should be able to see through it. And then it's already done. All right, so now we're gonna start layering. So we're gonna add, just how you normally would for any lasagna, we're gonna do our meat down first, and then we'll add some ricotta, some Parmesan cheese. I'll put some spinach on top of that, and then we'll do our next layer. And we're just gonna repeat that until the very top. One thing to note is when your noodles are coming out up here, if they're not fully covered, they will get really crispy in the oven. And my boys have told me before they don't like crispy lasagna, so I just cut that off. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of do like a little thin layer. I'm gonna throw down some of the spinach. I'm gonna just remove the stems and put it in here. Go. Then we'll add a little bit of our ricotta. And I like to add it where I would cut it and how I would cut it. So I'm imagining like little squares right here with the ricotta in the center. And then we'll just add our Parmesan cheese to the top of that. And I'm not gonna add our sliced mozzarella until the very end, so it's not too cheese heavy. So I'm just gonna do it like that, and now I'm gonna do our next layer. All right. You could saute the spinach before and add it, but I'm just trying to save you one less step since there was kind of a lot of steps involved in this. So just laying it directly on top, it will cook in the sauce and everything, so you don't need to worry about it. But if you did want to saute it in olive oil with a little bit of garlic and then add it that way, that totally works as well. This will be our final layer. I'm not gonna add spinach to the top because I don't want it to burn in the oven. The oven's at 350. I'm gonna cover it and then place it in the oven for about 20 minutes. Everything is cooked, but we want all that nice cheese to melt and get a little bit golden on the top. So I'm trying to keep the edges covered in sauce and the meat, because if they're not, they will kind of crisp in the oven. So I kind of just want to keep them a little bit covered. Ricotta. You don't want to waste that, so I'm just going to be a little bit extra generous on top. We'll add our Parmesan. Let's actually just take our hands and do that. And then our mozzarella. I think it's like, just gonna throw it on top. Once it comes out of the oven, we're gonna chop up fresh basil and put it all on top, and then we'll serve it up. Okay, we pulled our lasagna out. It's ready to serve. It's definitely a little bit more time consuming. I recommend doing this on the weekend or when you have a little bit more time in your weekday. You can always, again, make that bolognese a day before and then just work on your pasta. But yeah, I hope you make it and I hope you enjoy your meal.